Hey everybody, I've got Konrad Stump back with me again here at Macabre Daily's Paper Cuts. Konrad is what I like to call a rock star librarian. I've created a new, moniker for it.
I support it.
I've had you on before for the Paper Cut Spotlight series, just talking about what you do for reading, what you do for literature, but most importantly, what you do for readers, plural, and how you get books in their hot little hands and encourage them to read and learn and grow. And I just think it's the best thing ever. So much so that I had Becky Spratford on, and now I'm having the two of you back to talk about summer scares in a month. So you know how I get, Konrad. I'm going to stop.
I do.
Sucking the air out of the room. Do me a favor. It's been a month since we last spoke. Catch everybody up on what you're doing and the fantastic things that I know you've accomplished.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. Well, I just submitted the first kind of round of this article for a peer-reviewed library journal called Library Trends. So it is the article, thanks. It's currently at about 6,600 words, so we'll see how that stands once it gets through the peer review process.
That's not good.
It's not. It was a lot, but it made me reflect on my work and made me feel like, oh yeah, I'm pretty cool. So it is called Building Community Investment Through Readers Advisory Programming, and Readers Advisory, for lack of a better definition, is connecting people with books. And so, that's kind of the core concept, but it's about my work with the library on Oh the Horror and connecting with the Horror Writers Association and how that creates cross-sector collaboration. So you have these two kind of entities who are mutually invested, right? Yeah. And so that creates reciprocal investment on both parts, which then has compounded returns for both of those organizations. And then, that kind of creates systemic growth, and that creates perpetual community impact. So right over the course of essentially 10 years, both Oh the Horror and the Horror Writers Association Libraries program have been able to grow with, Becky's work, my work, the work of everyone involved, and it just kind of keeps building this compounded interest to impact communities and connect them with the horror genre. And to me, that is something, I always kind of say, like, I'm just someone who had an interest in something and got support and, maybe had a lot of vision and, creativity and ingenuity, but anyone is capable of doing that for their community. So if you like romance, if you like fantasy, sci-fi, do a thing. And so that article hopefully will help other librarians engage their communities in meaningful experiences, because that's kind of the work that I do, is creating experiences that connect people with books. I'm pretty proud of it. Sure, you just go right ahead.
You should be proud of it. Yeah. Oh the Horror that's how I found out about you. Oh the Horror is so dynamic, but it's so fun, and of course you're working with in conjunction with some of the most exciting authors out there, but even more importantly, you're shedding a light on authors that are up and coming, some indie voices, authors that are maybe 2 or 3 books in, really hitting their stride, and then really well established superstar mainstream horror authors as well. All of this under the banner of let's get books in people's hands, let's spread the word. So what you're doing with the article and with the community and with the Horror Writers Association, I applaud you. I love every single word, and I think it's fantastic. And I really do hope that your mission, actually I don't hope, I know it's going to happen, that this article actually will be a great blueprint for other librarians to start their own, and I think it's great, it pays forward.
Thank you. Yeah, right, it's all about building opportunity for others and, seeing them realize their potential and shine, and the impact that can have on people. So
love it. And look, from a selfish standpoint, heading up the the literature column at Macabre Daily. Macabre Daily is a fantastic place with incredible contributors of all sorts. I mean, we're Baskin Robbins 31 flavors.
Yeah.
There's a through line, though. They're all avid readers, and
yes,
the academic aspect of Macabre Daily maybe isn't like the sexy part of horror.
Could be a little bit sexy.
Okay, we're trying, Konrad.
Yeah,
you're trying.
I think we're both succeeding.
I like that. We're going with that. But it happens to be a little bit overlooked because of that, but it's so important because every single one of the contributors, and through our interaction with the horror community, we're finding out that the vast majority of readers and listeners and viewers are avid readers as well. I mean, it really is one of the most common denominators when we kind of get into it with our audience, is that they love horror literature. Yeah. And then that, of course, we expand on that, and they just love literature in general. And I'm just trying to shine a light on all of it. And you're helping.
You guys are doing great work. Well, thank you, but thank you.
Look, you and I are both no stranger to self-promotion. I'll take it. I am a wonderful person, and I am doing great things.
Someone has to say that about you.
I want to welcome my jerks to the panel today.
I'm the nicest person you'll ever meet.
I can't. The disaster it's going to be when we're actually in person at StokerCon. I really can't wait for it, though. I can't.
Me too.
Okay. I had Konrad back, and Konrad will be a return guest. I already mentioned Summer Scares, and we're going to do Kinder Trauma in April, and I'm looking forward to that, and also a little scared because that's going to open up a lot of memories. Yeah, we're going to go deep on that one.
I got a lot to work through.
Me and you both. But today is all about very very prim and proper English ghost stories.
Yes.
We may look. I didn't thoroughly scrub my list, but I do believe that every single one of my authors, I'm fairly confident that every single one is English.
Okay, that's a good start.
Look, leave it to the Irish to sneak in there, So,
well, that is true. Actually, I have some Irish people to talk about as well.
Right?
So, yes.
So we're gonna play fast and loose with the conversation, but I figured what we would do, we would talk about maybe we'll start with our 5 favorite, but before we even get into that, I do want to talk about what makes up an English ghost story. But before we even get to that, Konrad, I want to know your introduction to the English ghost story subgenre.
Yeah, okay. So let's not count this as one of my favorites, but it is. Okay, because, I got a lot. So I think one of the first books that I kind of read when I got back into reading after college and realizing I like the horror genre is, I'm going to hold up books in this, by the way, Roald Dahl's book of ghost stories. And so, it's really interesting because in the introduction, he talks about kind of his journey in finding these stories and the people that he met who were also kind of ghost story researchers, and then kind of sifting through a bunch of stories that weren't good, according to him, which I kind of want to know what those are.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite ghost stories, Story, right, is in this book, and it is called... wait for it, let me look for it. Harry by Rosemary Timberly. And I'm going to just, I'm not going to read a whole lot to you during this, but I have to read you this first paragraph. Please. And it says, "Such ordinary things make me afraid. Sunshine, sharp shadows on grass, white roses, children with red hair, and the name, Harry. Such an ordinary name." So, that is killer to me.
Absolutely.
But, it's basically about this woman who has a young daughter, and this is kind of a common trope in ghost stories. The daughter makes an imaginary friend named Harry, and, of course, they kind of write it off initially, and then it becomes more serious, and then the daughter disappears, and then the woman is trying to figure out who Harry was. So it just, like, it has a really great trajectory. I find it frightening. I find that kind of sunlit horror really interesting. So Roald Dahl's Book of Ghost Stories, I think, was my first kind of English ghost story introduction.
What a fantastic place to start. You crushed it out of the gate. That's probably one of the best ghost story books ever.
Yeah, it's a great selection.
It's like each and every one is a winner. There's no stinkers in the bunch. That one, honestly, is chilling because you see that little pebble in so many contemporary horror novels that we get now.
Yeah.
I mean, just off the top of my head, thinking about Incidents Around the House just recently, and like there's just a little bit of that in there as well. And
well, even in Play Nice by Rachel Harrison, right? You know, in the kind of like backstory of Cleo, she has this, what you might think is an imaginary friend. But it might also be the demon possessing the house.
Don't even get me started on that book. You know, you and I could talk. We could do the rest of this episode on that book alone. Dios mío. Another new one coming out. Yeah. All right, enough. Rachel gets enough promotion. No more Rachel.
All right, I guess.
but we do love her, and she's fantastic.
Sure.
I'm surprised by one thing with Roald Dahl is that there are elements of the macabre in his short stories, but he never wrote a ghost story because he didn't believe that he had ever written a good one, which I'm just shocked by, you know?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of his children's literature is macabre. I mean, of course, The Witches comes to mind, but even like The Twits is kind of just a little bit in that vein.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so look, I'll tell you my introduction to English ghost stories. Mine was visual. My mom is from Ireland, from Limerick. Came over when she was 19, and you know, after meeting my dad and having kids, we would go back every Easter to visit her family. I think we did it for about 14 years straight. So I would be sitting in the TV room at one of my aunt and uncle's houses, and we're all packed in there, and the cigarette smoke, the Dunhill smoke is so thick, it's on top of my head, and you could cut it with a butter knife. But it was, you know, it's those memories, that nostalgia of like, you can almost feel the heat of the room because everyone's packed in there, and the telly would be on. And, you know, if I was lucky enough, even though it wasn't Christmas time, they would be repeating one of the BBC horror ghost stories. And I remember seeing M.R. James, The Signal Man.
Okay, nice.
And, you know, I mean, I'll paint the picture. You know, there I am in my Sears Toughskins, I'm sure, or my, you know, Garanimals. And I couldn't have been more than 6 or 7. And, you know, at that age, you got to be patient as a kid. I was used to Saturday morning cartoons, and I was an avid horror kid even back then. But I was used to American horror like Frankenstein or Dracula. And this one you really have to earn. You have to be patient and sit there. And it was at that moment where I didn't understand it at the time because I was too young, but I would come to appreciate it later on in life, that you had to be patient with these stories.
Yeah.
And it's like like a hothouse flower. You have to give it time to bloom. And it's so well worth the payoff of the beauty of it when it finally happens. And that was my real first introduction to, okay, if you hang in with these stories long enough, you'll be rewarded at the end.
Yeah.
And it hasn't served me well in so many other aspects of my life. But in reading, it has. It really has. So, yeah, that was it. That was my introduction. And then, of course, you know, I started searching out ghost stories from that point forward as a young reader, and just kind of collecting anything that I could, that I felt that vibe that I felt, you know?
Yeah. Because you mentioned Ireland, I totally thought you were going to say Darby O'Gill and the Little People. But that's not where that went. So
no, that's borderline racist.
Is it? Okay, well, crap. We're not that far into this. I was going to say, so talking about M.R. James, yes, I do love me some M.R. James. And so what he would, I think, call that would be a crescendo. So, it has to have sort of this build up and this so he gave this lecture that was about sort of his philosophy around the ghost story. Mm-hmm. And, he said, essentially, like you want to enter it in sort of everyday means, right? You want to set the scene where it's very common and the horror is not like right there, and then slowly the safety nets kind of start to go away, and then the horror builds, and it's about that kind of payoff.
Yeah, the hook at the end.
So crescendo.
I love how I keep changing it, and you keep bringing it back to crescendo, which is the proper word. So
sure, yes, it's a good word.
This is a perfect segue, though. Give me your take on what are the elements of an English ghost story. What do you look for, or what is it built upon? Give me your take on it.
That's interesting, I think, because it depends on when you're looking at it, right? So if you're talking about A Christmas Carol, you might be talking about the economy. So, right, kind of the economy and selfishness and charity and that kind of thing. So, like, is it exploring something else about society? So I think that's kind of one aspect that it can take. Another aspect that it can take is it might be someone more psychological, right? Someone has guilt over something, or someone is guilty of something, and either their mind is getting to them, or like their crime is being revealed through the ghost story. But I think, kind of going back to M.R. James, you have this sort of sometimes everyday person who might not necessarily be looking for a ghost, but they come across something where they sort of unleash this supernatural entity, and then it has consequences for them. Yeah. And I think, right, like, again, depending on when you're talking about it, is it the atmosphere, and is it the locale? So, I mean, I think it varies, but I think what I like, and I think what Mr. James would like, is a malevolent entity that is not there to tell you something. It's there for retribution.
Yeah. I love it. And you hit the nail on the head. It's atmosphere, it's locale, it's, sometimes it's the, the comeuppance. But I think for me, an English ghost story also, it's the depiction, it's the character's torment, because these are English ghost stories. Mm-hmm. So they are typically they're representative of upper class society. For the most part. So there are stakes there, and there is a persona that has to be upheld at all times. Mm-hmm. And I think the delicious aspect of English ghost stories is the deconstruction of that. Yeah. That they're confronted with emotions that they have to keep bottled up inside, but they are coming to the surface. So they're being tormented by a supernatural entity, but they're also being tormented by their lack of composure. And then,
yeah.
And the crossroads.
I like that.
Oh, it's one of my favorite aspects when I encounter an English ghost story where there's a prim and proper gentleman or gentlewoman, and they are unraveling, but they're almost as tormented by that experience as by whatever is tormenting them. Oh,
yeah. I like that take on it, and I think you're correct.
I passed so far. Okay.
Yeah, good job.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's do a top 5. My guest, of course, will go first. So, look, we don't have to go from 5 to 1. No, actually, we do. 1 must be your favorite. So,
gosh,
favorite. I know 5 is hard. 5 is the least favorite is the hardest of all.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking around at my stack of books.
Look, I can buy you time. I can go first and buy you time.
That I have. Okay. I'm going to go with The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. So I'm putting it at 5th just because I have other things that I'm looking at around here.
Okay.
But I love The Woman in Black. I love a nice story that's like a solid 200 pages. And so, what I love about this is it plays into sort of English ghost story traditions, because there's a big tradition of sort of ghost stories at Christmas time, which of course goes back many centuries. But the Victorian English, they really played into that. And, on a long winter night when you have nothing else to do and it gets dark early, you tell ghost stories around the fire. So this is sort of directly, and this might come up later, might be one of yours, inspired by The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, which might also be technically American ghost story.
We'll get into that cheat.
Yeah. Okay. But it has a frame narrative where it's someone telling a story on Christmas Eve. And The Turn of the Screw does, and so does The Woman in Black. So it follows Arthur Kipps, who was a solicitor in his younger days, and he is with his second wife and his stepchildren, and they want him to tell them a ghost story, and he is very shaken by this request, so he leaves the house. And so then he proceeds to tell us about the Woman in Black, essentially. And, when he was a young man, he went to Eel Marsh House to settle the estate of Alice Dreblow. I forget exactly what her last name is. And there encounters the mysterious Woman in Black, and there's a lot of local legend around this woman, and it's supposed to portend the death of a child, I think. And so, he has all these supernatural experiences in and around the house. He hears things, and, the mystery surrounding this Woman in Black begins to unravel, and you eventually learn why he is so shaken by this request from his stepchildren for this ghost story. So I love it because it plays into that tradition. It's like legitimately scary. The writing is wonderful, and I love the frame narrative, and that shows up a lot where you get someone telling a story about a story.
I love that framing. Absolutely love that framing. That is a great 5th choice. It's a great way to kick it off.
Thanks.
That story is terrifying. It really is. By the way, Hammer Horror actually did a recent adaptation with Daniel Radcliffe. That is truly scary. That is a very well-made movie. It feels very much like a Mark Gatiss BBC, ghost story for Christmas.
Yes.
So if anybody out there hasn't seen The Woman in Black, first, please read the story, because you'll really get the richness of it and all the detail that you're going to miss in the film. But the film is a great companion, so a perfect watch along to the reader.
Yeah, and it has a number of different types of adaptations. I think it was adapted for the stage, and I listened to, I think, like an audiobook. It was on Audible, but it was like an actual performance of it. So that was stellar.
Yeah. Oh, okay. My turn now. Okay, number 5. This one. Okay, you might call me out here. I'm doing Kipling, and as someone with Irish heritage, it is hard for me to support Kipling. He's horrible to the Irish, but boy, did he write. You think I'm going to do Phantom Rickshaw, which is a really great ghost story and a comeuppance tale, but I'm not. And you might think I'm going to do Mark of the Beast, which is almost like a prototypical werewolf story, but I'm not. Mark of the Beast is really good too. Mark of the Beast is so jarring in its imperialism and colonialism, how like the comeuppance is then subverted and the bad guys actually win in the end and kind of like laugh about it, like, well, that was a crazy night. It's worth reading though, because it is so well written, and it really is kind of like the prototypical werewolf story. I'm going with The Man Who Would Be King. People might not think that it is a ghost story because it has recently, I mean, in the past, 45 years, been framed as an adventure story. But it really is. I'm going to champion the fact that it is a horrific ghost story because you've got Peaches Carnahan and Dan Dravitt, two adventurers in colonizing India, and they pretend to be gods and sorry, they're not in India. I can't remember. I believe they're in what is now Afghanistan, and they trick everyone into believing that they're gods because of the technology that they have. And I mean, it's essentially two morons who are not here for a long time, just for a good time.
Sure.
And they get so over their skis in their lie, and they're eventually found out. And I mean, Peaches is basically falls to his death in a ravine, is sent to his death by falling into a ravine, and Dan is crucified to a pine tree, between two pine trees. But at the end, he goes back to India, and he is carrying around the severed head of Peaches. And he is, it definitely hits, because I'm taking it back from the adventure story depiction, and I'm bringing it back into ghost story, which it truly and utterly is. There are a lot of adventure elements to it, but it begins horrifically, same framing narrative as The Woman in Black. It's a tale told, and then it ends with this great kind of decrepit Dan who's aged decades and is almost like like a leper, and he's carrying around the decayed head with the crown still on it of his dead friend. And I'm like, if that's not a ghost story or a horror, I don't know what is. So I'm
I fully support that.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so we've got Kipling, and we've got Susan Hill, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, great.
I'm trying to think of what next. So this is what I'm going to choose because I want to talk about him. I am going to choose a story called The School Friend by Robert Aikman. So what is this? The 70s? You would know.
Ow.
So there were a couple editions that came out, Painted Devils and Cold Hand in Mind with Dust Jackets by Edward Gorey, who I love Edward Gorey. So Aikman wrote, I think, 48 strange stories is what he liked to call them. And some of them are hard to come by. He's really seen a resurgence recently. So I think Faber has some editions that are out. New York Review Book Classics put out an edition of some of his stories. So I think people are becoming more aware of him, but for a while he was definitely a deep cut.
Yeah.
But so The School Friend, and the deal with Aikman is like, it's all about subtlety and like insinuation, which I find very effective. So, I mean, The School Friend follows these two women, and they were, extremely close when they were young kids. They really bonded in school because they were the smart girls, as the narrator says. And and then, a bunch of years pass. They haven't seen each other, and one of the friends returns home because her dad died. And so they meet and they talk and things are normal. But then the narrator sees her friend, and she kind of looks not great. She ends up in the hospital, and the narrator is going to go to the house and kind of get some things, check things out. And there's this really incredible scene where the narrator's standing out front of the house, and there's a boy looking over the fence at her, horrified, just stunned in horror, but you get the sense that he's not looking at her, he's looking past her at the house. And then at some point she and mild spoilers to all of these stories. At some point, she sees the ghost of her friend's dad in the house, but he's not exactly what is haunting the house. And I can't wait. It's so good. It has a kind of ending where you're just like, holy crap, like what is going on? And the thing with Aikman too is things are never explained, which I also find to be very effective. I don't want an explanation. I want to be thinking about it after I've read it. I want it to haunt me like a ghost story is supposed to haunt.
Oh, how Paul Tremblay of them. Oh, okay.
So yeah, I love me some Robert Aikman.
Oh, I have never read that. I'm gonna buy that today. Oh,
as you should.
Love it. Love it. Okay, this one's tough. Okay, number 4 for me. You know what? I'm gonna go with Man-Sized Marble. And I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah, nice. Edith Nesbit
by our good friend Edith.
Yes.
I kind of love this one because it was adapted by Mark Gatiss for Ghost Story at Christmas for the BBC. And by the way, shout out to Mark Gatiss.
Yeah, great work.
What a gem of a man who, and the whole country and now the whole world is into it. And every Christmas, every holiday season, we just can't wait to see what he's going to do next. But Man-Sized Marble, this one I love for many reasons. Like I hate to keep bringing up the Irish, but you've got like the Irish country doctor, you've got the Irish housekeeper. They are they're like the steerage class to this story, but they're all the personality and the superstition and the kind of like the country thread throughout the narrative. I love this story for so many reasons, but it really is. I don't know if it surely didn't start the framework, but it perfected the framework of the protagonist who is confronted with the startling facts and chooses to ignore them.
Yes.
And I should say the startling facts are told to him and chooses to ignore them. And it's not until they see the result with their own eyes. Again, spoiler warning for stories that in some instances are centuries old.
Yes, I think it's all right.
Yeah, right. You had well past your lifespan to read these, but it's not until the very end. And the quick synopsis is that there on All Hallows Eve there are 2 statues that are going to come to life in the country manor in which they are the church in which they're presiding over. And they're warned this is going to happen, don't be home, and of course they don't listen, or the husband doesn't listen, of course.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Feels very 2026. and of course the woman pays the price, and it's not until he is confronted with the evidence, the physical evidence, that the penny drops, and then of course that's the last sentence to the story. And I just love every single word of it. And Edith, look, let's call it for what it is. Edith at the time is being very bold and cheeky, and is saying things without saying things about maybe the foolishness of man, and maybe the saying some things about the society in which she was living in at the time. And maybe it would not be such a bad idea to hear all voices instead of just one. Maybe it would be a good idea to to look at I almost made a really bad mistake in saying look at folklore instead of science. That is not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. But to look at all aspects of a situation before making a decision. So I'll just leave it there because I want people to read this story. But it's really good. Nesbit's a great author.
I do like Edith Nesbit. And I was trying to think, interestingly, she was a children's author.
Right.
When she wrote The 5 Children and It,
Yep.
I think is one of her books. So I just want to do a little promo for, I don't know if she's in here, but if you're interested in supernatural tales by women, especially around that time frame, A great book is Weird Women by Lisa Morden and Leslie S. Klinger. So just if you're looking for like a nice anthology of ghost stories by women, recommend it.
Great suggestion. And Konrad, whatever suggestions you have, keep them coming.
Okay.
All right, you're up, my friend. Number 3.
Yes. So let me think about this. I gotta move on my numerous books that I pulled out.
Now it starts getting serious. We're into the top 3, so this is the
place. Well, oh my gosh, I have so many that I want to talk about.
Well, look, we're just going to do 5, but I'm going to give you ample time to talk about all the ones that we don't get to. So, yeah, I got you. I got you, buddy.
I'll talk about some stories, because I also love a ghost story novel, as you can guess from The Woman in Black. So my next one, I think, will be The Mezzotint by M.R. James.
You stole one of mine, so we'll talk about it. No,
oh my God, yes, please. I love The Mezzotint. And so it's interesting because I love ekphrasis, which is basically writing a story, a poem about a work of art, whether it is real or fictional. And so a couple of my favorites fall into
Everyone's
that.
learning something. Everyone.
Yeah. I try. So this is my beloved little edition of M.R. James's ghost stories, but these are, you can easily find them.
Konrad, do me a favor. Hold that up one more time, though. I want everyone to get a look at that incredible cover. Yeah.
So this is like the Penguin UK version.
Fantastic.
Because I buy books from the UK. Just a side librarian note, if you've never used Interlibrary Loan, it is basically this big network of libraries, and so you can go to your local library, hopefully, and request books that your library doesn't have, and they will find a lending library to send it so that you can check it out. So there was a publisher in the late 90s, early 2000s called Ash Tree Press, and so they put out a huge volume of M.R. James's ghost stories. Was that called A Pleasing Terror? So I highly recommend this because it has explanatory notes, which I am obsessed with, because they promote discoverability and lifelong learning because they connect you with other things.
Oh, that's cool.
And they also have really great illustrations by an illustrator named Paul Lowe. So this is not for the story, but that is one of them.
Oh,
I love me some pen and ink, you know?
Same.
So anyway, just that little tangent. The Mezzotint. So basically, right, it follows this man who purchases artworks, and Mezzotint, I'm going to get this so wrong, but it's a type of art that is engraved on copper or steel, but it creates light and dark, so sort of like pen and ink, but chiaroscuro. Light, dark, you know, that to me is horror, balancing the light with the dark. But so he purchases this Mezzotint, and it's of this manor house. And he has, I think the first thing that happens is one of his friends comes over and notices that there is a figure in the corner of the Mezzotint. And then another friend comes over and the figure has moved. And then another friend comes over and the figure has moved. And they think that it is revealing a crime. And they ask a question, you know, has it happened or is it going to happen? Which I find so affecting. But anyway, it sort of unravels the story of what happened through what the picture is revealing. But then the man who bought the painting also does research to kind of figure out where this manor house was. What could this mystery potentially be? Like, who is this figure and what happened? So I love that. I love the reveal, sort of slow reveal, and the balance of the ghost story with like factual information. Mm-hmm. I think that also kind of makes an English ghost story, is you want it to seem as factual as possible.
Yes.
To balance out the horror that you are bringing. But the other thing that I love about that story is all of these people look at it. So like, it's not the narrator imagining it. Multiple people are seeing this. So it gives credence to the haunting. So yeah, I love that story.
Perfect story, perfect choice. Okay, look, I can't improve on that. All I'll do, I'll put some footnotes to it.
Okay.
It's a great Mark Gatiss adaptation for Ghost Story Christmas with Rory Kinnear. Again, these are like half hour, maybe 35, 40 minute stories. You can find that one. I believe you can find that on Amazon Prime. Boo, Jeff Bezos, but you can find it there.
You can find it there.
Yeah. Just try and find it anywhere, but I know that it's there and it's well worth watching. But what I will say, though, is that the mezzotint is, you can draw a direct correlation to Stephen King's The Road Virus Heads North, which is a great short story where, I believe, of course, it's an author buys a painting, I think it's at a garage sale, and notices that this car is getting closer and closer, and the figure in the car is ghastly. And it's his take on the mezzotint, and it's so good in a Stephen King way. It's more, instead of prim and proper, it's more, hot dogs and rock and roll, but they're perfect read-alongs. So yeah, the mezzotint, again, I can't improve on everything that you said, especially your take on the light and dark is horror. And that's just perfect. So I'm going to leave it alone. Typically, I'll talk right over it, but I'm going to leave it alone.
Okay.
All right. Look, I'm sorry to do this to you, but you took my third, so back to you for number 2.
Was that? Oh my, okay. Goodness. Can I cheat a little bit and do an Irish story?
Of course you can. Are you kidding me?
Maybe I could take your story again.
We'll see.
We'll find out. Okay. I also am like, what all do I have? So for number 2, because there are many things on my list, I'm going to talk about Shulkin the Painter by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu.
Okay, love the story. That's not one of mine, so we're good.
Okay, good, yeah. Irish author. So Dover has a couple editions. Best Ghost Stories of J.S. Le Fanu.
Perfect.
There's also Ghost Stories and Mysteries. And so basically, this is another example of ekphrasis. It's another story about a painting. Mm-hmm. And so Gottfried Shulkin was an actual Dutch painter in the 1600s. And so basically and what he was known for was a type of chiaroscuro that was basically figures lit by candlelight. So the light itself is very centered, and there's a lot of darkness around it.
Okay.
So that's kind of the deal with Shulkin. And he studied under Douw, who was I think a pupil of Rembrandt, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, so it starts with the narrator, who is Purcell. And so he's relating the story that essentially was told to him by Shulkin. So that's another of something that Shulkin kind of witnessed or was told himself. So I feel like that's another kind of element to some of these stories, is that someone else is telling it, right? It's not a lot of the times firsthand, which again, a ghost story, like that's what we do. We tell ghost stories and then they get retold and retold. So anyway, okay, so it starts with this painting by Shulkin, and then you get the story of the painting, which is basically when he was an apprentice to his master, Douw, or Doe, but I'm going to say Douw for this podcast. Thanks. Douw is working in his studio one evening, and this mysterious figure kind of appears in the doorway. And, it doesn't necessarily say whether he's a ghost or a ghoul or what he is, but like you can't see him very well. And so the suggestion is there, and then he disappears and he comes back. And basically what he is wanting is the hand of Dow's niece in marriage, and convinces him to kind of betroth her to him. And so they get married, they're gone. The Dow has these sort of regrets around it, and is wondering, what became of his niece. So he goes searching for them and can't find any mention of this man in the town that he said he was from. And one night they're sitting around the table, and she comes in through the door and is terrified. And so they put her in this room, and she's like, "Don't leave me, don't leave me." And for whatever reason, they do leave her. I mean, how could you tell the story without that?
Yeah, wouldn't be a good story if they
but
didn't.
You just hear this blood-curdling scream, and she's gone. And basically, not to give it all away, it's not Shulkin's last encounter with her, and that is what informs that painting. But it's sort of that demon lover, and there's also a little bit of like, hey, we know this guy is like super creepy in a not human way, but like, sure, go off with him. But it's a super affecting, just like really creepy ghost story. So LeFanu, I think, is very good. And M.R. James was a big fan of his, and M.R. James's work was informed by his a lot. And so M.R. James gave this lecture at one point, but about LeFanu, and said he, above anyone else, was good at inspiring, I think, a mysterious terror. And so that idea of the crescendo and entering things by sort of like an everyday way before you get to the horror, that is part of that lecture. So I think M.R. James's style is heavily influenced by LeFanu.
LeFanu is so great at mood and atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I just, love those stories. Great. I haven't read that one, so that's another one I have to add to my list. Oh, you're bringing the heat today.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. Now, I've got a bunch here. I already talked about the Signal Man. I had that for my number 2. So I'm gonna pivot. And I'm gonna go with. This is kind of a womp womp, but I have to do it.
Okay.
Look, so we have to talk Dickens, and I hope I'm not taking you number 1.
Sure.
I've got to talk about A Christmas
You're
Carol.
not.
Good. Okay. Good. Look, it's. It's like, okay, you're talking about A Christmas Carol, Ghost Story of Christmas. But
it's a great ghost story. Yeah.
How can we not?
Yeah.
What I do love about A Christmas Carol is it has elements of every single thing that we've talked about that make up a great English ghost story, but it's also it's something different. I mean, it's a cautionary tale, which they I won't say all are, but most are. But there's also, even though there's the horrific elements to it, and there's so much ghostly shenanigans going on, but there's also a little bit of whimsy to A Christmas Carol, which we don't get in a lot of English ghost stories. So that's why I'll bring it up. I'm certainly not going to talk about the story to A Christmas Carol. Everybody knows it to death. But I do love the fact that there is a whimsical quality to it that Dickens brought to it. And I think that's special. I think that does differentiate it from the typical ghost story. And, I don't know why it became what it became. Like, who's to say? But it's the quintessential ghost story.
It went viral, as the kids would say.
Yeah. Viral during the coal age. I don't know. I don't know how it happened, but it did. So that one's a little bit of like, okay, we have to check the box, but someone's got to talk about a Christmas Carol. So it's done. Yeah. It's done and dusted.
I support it.
Okay. Let's have it. What do you have for us?
Oh my gosh! So I'm gonna choose another story, even though there are many a novel that I want to talk about.
And we'll talk about it. I definitely want you to mention.
Let me speak. Gosh dang it. I'm just kidding. Okay, so again...
most contentious guest I've ever had.
Yeah. I love a deep cut. Because I think that's the exciting thing, right? Like, ghost stories have been around for a very long time. Many people have written ghost stories. There are all these different eras, and some things stick, some things don't. Some things are always popular, and some see a resurgence, and some are obscure, and you're really more captivated almost because they are obscure. And so what I'm going to talk about is multifold a little bit. I'm going to talk about the work of Sion Manley, who is American.
That's okay. We're going to bend the rules.
Okay, we're going to bend the rules on this because it's about anthologies. Okay. So this is Women of the Weird. So in the, I'm going to just say the 1970s because I feel like that is the safest time frame to go with.
Okay.
So Sion Manley and her sister Gogo Lewis published all these different anthologies of ghost stories or horror stories by women, British, American, otherwise. And Dust Jackets, again, by the wonderful Edward Gorey. So there's that. There is Ladies of Fantasy that I have. There is Ladies of the Gothics. I'm trying to not get the glare, which is the issue with Brodart Dust Jacket covers. But so anyway, those are the ones I have. But there are, I think, 6 or 7 in the series. Again, things that people can get through Interlibrary Loan, generally. Another thing that I love about anthologies is that you get little bios, you get little backstories about the stories themselves. And so I'm going to talk about, there are 2 that I'm going to mention in this anthology. Okay. One is by an author who I think only has this one story, Sheila Burnford, but the story is a quote, and it is, "Poor Albert floated when he died." And it is about this woman who is taking the train one day, and there are 2 women sitting next to her, and they kind of look, I don't know if they look like they're from another, decades before, but she's kind of trying to eavesdrop, and then at one point the train stops, and she's able to hear clearly, and all she hears is, "And poor Albert floated when he died." And then they get off the train, and she's stuck with this this line, and she's kind of like, what does that mean? Who was Albert? And what does it mean that he floated when he died?
He died, yeah.
So, I find it a very fun story. I love sensory stories, auditory. And so, but this one also has, I think, Sion Manley's best story, which is called "Yes, My Darling Daughter." And if you look at here's the connection. If you look at the stories of LeFanu and M.R. James and a lot of others, there is a focus on folklore, and some of the stories are inspired by that, or the things that they're researching that result in the sort of supernatural are coming from folklore.
Yeah.
And so this is a story about a woman, a folklorist, who is going around collecting the folklore of these small little communities. And she's talking to this couple because their daughter disappeared. And, there's supposed to be this woman in the well, and the girls in town dance around the well, and that potentially calls the woman. And so they're hesitant to speak about it because there's the sort of superstition that if you talk about it, the daughter won't come back. Okay. So there's folklore, but there's also a little bit of humor. And so I also think a good ghost story, and let's say a good English ghost story, has that element of humor as well. Yeah. Because again, you're trying to balance the horrific, and humor is a way that you do that. So I find that a very affecting story. But all of these are really great. You'll see names you recognize, names you don't. So highly recommend the anthologies of Sion Manley and Gogo Lewis.
Love it. And all of these, there'll be links to all of these below, as well as the link to the resource, the international resource for book.
Oh, Interlibrary. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it does have a link, right? I'm making a promise I can't keep, Konrad?
So, a little bit.
Okay.
So Interlibrary Loan, you have yes, I support it. Different libraries kind of take part in Interlibrary Loan, so it is through your own library, but there is a website called worldcat.org that is an international library catalog, so you can see what is out there, you can see which libraries have it, and then that will help you know that that is something that you can try to request through Interlibrary Loan. So WorldCat is really the link.
The link, perfect. WorldCat down below.
Yeah.
All right. My number one. Here we go. I can't wait.
Okay, I'm excited.
All right. This just happens to be an English ghost story. It is one of my favorite short stories of all time. And that is W.W. Jacobs' The Monkey's Paw.
Okay, sure. I support it.
Thank you. I don't need your damn permission.
You don't need my support. I know. I was just thinking, how many times have I said I support it in this interview?
Everyone I brought up. Everyone.
All right. I'm going to try to not say it again.
This friendship that we have. It's such a great story. Again, a little bit out of the norm because typically an English ghost story, or many times an English ghost story has like the elite class, the upper crust. This is just the common people, and they just want their son back. And it's the delicious. It's that delicious situation that they're put in of they have the ability to get everything that they want. They're suffering tremendous loss with the death of their son, but they can rectify it. And it's like that, do we do it? Do we not? And, again, I'm not spoiling a story that is only 20 years old. Just the fact that, like, that last minute reprieve from absolute and utter devastation, it's just so good. And it sparked the imaginations of so many writers that would not mimic it, but take the blueprint of that story and make it their own. Almost every single contemporary horror author who's written short stories has a version of The Monkey's Paw.
Yeah.
Not that long ago, I was talking with Phil Fracassi, name dropping, and we were talking because of his novel Gothic. We were talking about cursed objects and how it happens to be one of our favorite things. And if you can pull off a short story or a novel with a cursed object or a film, it is so unbelievably satisfying and terrifying because typically, maybe not in the case of a monkey's paw. I mean, I think if you open up a pouch, an old leathered pouch, and had a monkey's paw, it might give you pause. But I do love a cursed object. I do love an everyday cursed object. So The Monkey's Paw, it's extremely well written. I think for the time it came out, it was shocking, almost like to the point of, I won't say pornographic, but like, ay Dios mío, what are we reading? A lot of bonnets were tilted with the introduction of The Monkey's Paw, and I kind of love that for it, that it made an imprint of the time of like almost a little bit scandalous, and then that sparked the interest of like, you gotta read The Monkey's Paw, So I love that. I love if a short story can kind of take on a level of notoriety beyond the actual post.
I mean, it shows up in a Simpsons Treehouse of Terror episode.
There you go.
So, it's made pop culture.
Love it. So that's my number one. Love me a monkey's paw. Would I use all three wishes and curse myself to damnation? It would take me about 11 minutes to rifle through those three.
I'd have a lot of anxiety because I knew that every single word really mattered.
You're like, and what a chatterbox I am. I'd be so screwed with my
mess
first
it up
wish.
so quick. Yeah.
My first one would be I want to be tall, and then just cracking.
I think there's something really quite dashing about being a shorter person. So that's what I've been told.
You said it. I mean, I'll co-sign. I'm saying from your mouth to God's ears. All right, I promise you that you would be able to talk about any and every single English ghost story or any book that you want to. Have at it, my friend.
Oh gosh, okay. How long do we have? I'm just kidding. I'll choose 3.
Okay.
Humor me 3.
I'll give you 3.
Okay, so this is actually British, and then my other ones are English, and then my other ones are not, and that's the whole point. So one of my favorite English ghost story novels is The Girl in a Swing by Richard Adams, who wrote Watership Down. So I have read this book 3 or 4 times. It's definitely a slow burn, but I like a slow burn.
Yeah.
And so it follows a man named Alan Desland, who is a dealer in ceramics and like China. And so he is in Denmark, kind of, shopping around for his business. And he meets a woman named Kata. And he, kind of falls in love with her. She falls in love with him as much as you can in 2 days. And so, he doesn't know anything about her. He basically invites her back to marry him pretty quickly. And he doesn't know anything about her past. She's really hesitant to talk about herself, but she's captivating. It's a very erotic story. But the reason I love it is a couple things. So first, it starts with this sort of page that I think is supposed to be Richard Adams. It's not signed at the end, Richard Adams. Okay. But it's saying so much time has passed that it's hard to know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. And some of the names in this are accurate and some of them are made up, and some of the places are accurate but some of them are made up. And so it's giving you that sort of credence of this is a true ghost story, while also telling you that you can't believe what you're reading. So I love that setup. And then it lulls you into this story where you're just kind of following this couple who are enamored of each other. And there's that kind of line of dread through the story. And it creeps up a little bit, right? Something will happen. And then again, there are all these little creep ups throughout the story, and then the ending is that crescendo of a very horrifying scene where you find out more about kind of what happened before this couple came together.
Read this.
It's so good, and it's very sensory, which again I like. I like when there are sounds and smells and so, and that to me can be the most terrifying thing, right? A word spoken over the telephone.
And Konrad, you said it. Slow burn, more slow burn fiction. Love a slow burn.
Yes. Yeah. So that's my first one. And then I want to talk about my favorite American ghost story novel. Is it a ghost story? I'm going to frame it that way, but it is The Sundial by Shirley Jackson. So The Sundial is my favorite Shirley Jackson. It is hilarious.
Yeah.
In the most catty way. Yeah. Dry and catty. And that's what I want in life. And so it follows the Halloran family who have just lost kind of the master of the house, who is the son of Oriana. And so now Oriana is I'm taking over this house. I'm in charge. And everyone else is kind of crap, you're awful. Yeah. And also you probably murdered your son. So again, and then
2026 is a perfect suggestion.
And Oriana's sister Fanny is wandering in the garden, and she encounters the ghost of her deceased father, who gives her kind of this premonition that the world is going to end, and only those who are in the Halloran house are going to survive it. And so Fanny brings the story back, and people start to believe her, and then they kind of start to lose their dang minds. Yeah. And then it's also funny because it's okay, so who are we going to invite into the house, and who do we want to just die in the apocalypse? Yeah. So, but it is a ghost story in that, one, there is a ghost.
There's a ghost.
But these people are haunted by one, the death of the master of the house, but also, the patriarch who has been dead for a while. They're also haunted by this uncertain future in this new reality. Yeah. And so I think a lot of times with ghost stories, what you're really talking about is people being haunted, and it's not necessarily by a ghost, but maybe the ghost of the past or like the specter of the future.
I love that you brought up Jackson, because not typically known as a lot of laughs, and that's unfair, because this story, to your point, it is catty and delicious, and it's got a mean streak and a great sense of humor to it. She had fun with her writing, not known for that, but she did. So I kind of love that you picked that one so we could shed a light on that.
Yeah, yes, it's a lesser known, but it has a lot of similarities to Hill House and to We Have Always Lived in the Castle.
We Have Always Lived in the Castle, for sure.
Yes, yes. Okay, and then the other one that I will talk about is Australian.
Okay.
But it is Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay.
Oh boy.
So,
okay.
And again, is this a ghost story? That's a great question.
I mean, maybe?
Maybe.
And that's the beauty of it.
Right. So it's these girls at this boarding school in Australia who they go on a picnic one day. The group and their teachers go on a picnic, and I think 4 of them go up Hanging Rock, and 3 of them don't come back. One of them comes screaming back down, but doesn't know why she's screaming. And so there's this disappearance, and then everyone is haunted by it. The headmistress of the school, the other girls, the other kind of figures in the periphery, who were, especially those who were there that day. And then sort of like, right, a ghost story, it makes the paper. And I always think about Samara in The Ring. Just generally, I'm kind of obsessed with her. I'm kidding. But right, like, you want other people to know this story, and so it's about getting that media out there to other people, and you're spreading it. So I think that's what a ghost story does, is it spreads. So it makes the paper, and everyone else is haunted by it. And then the cool thing about this book is that, again, Joan Lindsay sets it up like, it's been a long time since this happened, but it did happen, but things have been changed, and I'm concealing like the actual case. And so people were haunted by, did this happen? And people tried to prove that it did happen. They were trying to figure out what is she referencing? And so I love how a ghost story can haunt readers. So,
and that's the beauty of it. The good ones, and sometimes the not so good ones, they do haunt us, and we carry them with us, and then we do our part, to your point, to spread that.
Yes, yeah.
Feel my dread, feel my pain,
feel my dread. Yeah,
there you go.
Right, you don't want to be alone, and I think that is part of too why we. Not to get super deep, but that is part of like why we want to believe in ghosts or an afterlife, right? Is like, you want to know that there's more, and that you're not alone in the world, and that, So I think there's that
a security blanket of sorts.
Yes, right. You want to connect over that shared kind of dread of mortality. Dun, 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 dun.
The irony is that often the afterworld is depicted horrifically. So it's like, if we get our wish, we're like, oh, okay.
Right. And what are you doing all day if you're a ghost?
I know.
Right?
Well, like, I go to the movies a lot, I suppose.
That's fair.
Okay, love Picnic at Hanging Rock. Great film by Peter Weir. It's lush, languid, it's sensual, and and ultimately it's incredibly haunting. So it's perfect watch along to the read along. Konrad Stump.
Sean O'Connor.
You have done it again, my friend.
Oh, thanks.
I feel like I'm the Watson to your Sherlock with these books, and I'll take it.
I'll allow that.
Okay. You're allowing everything.
I didn't say I support it. I said I allow it.
No, you just said no allow it. Oh, look, I'll take it. I'm getting you back next month. I'm getting you back for Kinder Trauma, but you kind of let the cat out of the bag. So I'm absolutely going to put a Samara ring panel together.
Oh, yeah.
You're, oddly enough, creepily enough, you're like the third person to talk about the ring in the past
Fantastic.
like 2 months.
Yeah, fantastic film, great soundtrack, great story. The horses, the dang horses. Anyway.
We got a couple of heavy-hitting authors that is their favorite. I am going to reach out and, let's get together and... Look, we'll try and get this in before Stoker, or maybe we'll do it at Stoker. Ooh.
Now that's terrifying.
Right?
Sounds good.
A lot of clinking of glasses. Thank you so much for coming on. It's always great to see you.
Yes, lovely to see you always.
You're like a bad penny. You're going to be showing up so much around here.
We'll see.
If there's anything I can do for you, please, I'll post whatever you have coming up, whatever you need supported. I know this is going to come back to haunt me, but you're a key under the mat friend. Whatever you need, you have.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
You got it. I'll see you shortly in a couple of weeks, you and Becky. But like I said, if you need anything in the meantime, please reach out. I support what you do. I absolutely adore it. And anything I can do to do my part to support you in your the great work you're doing, just let me know.
Thank you. I adore what you do as well.
Thank you, sir. All right. Have fun. I'll talk to you soon. And just behave.
I'll try.
I don't think that for a second.
No.